Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's formally get started, Eric. I think
Yeah.
we've kind of
So I'll just repeat
introduced
everything I
yourself.
said.
Yeah, don't repeat it. Everybody who was on already knows
Okay.
if they come on late, then they're gonna miss that. But let's dive right into what's going on with your gravity sketch activity. And there again with everybody on the call. Linkage does a DDUG every quarter, digital design user group, just basically highlighting different digital design tools and techniques, right? Not just the tools, but the approach, getting the industry experts to kind of help direct or advise on how these tools are being integrated in the digital design workflow. It's not just the traditional sketch, Photoshop, Studio Paint, whatever, to Alias, to CAD. There's a lot of new tools now in there. And so our approach is to look at things independently and just look at what's the most unique technology out there. And we were intrigued, Eric, with the stuff that you have going on, just how you're using Gravity Sketch, not just not just like as a novelty, but as a true productivity tool where you can really get some stuff done. And 3D sketching or immersive sketching is really powerful. I don't think we're really truly touching the full extent of what it can be like, right? But the idea of immersing yourself inside your sketch or doing things um, more immersed is unique, right? It's weird that you're sketching. It's odd that you guys are sketching and then we're modeling things and you're viewing it on a 2D display.
Right.
Kind of, but it's what everybody's used to. But it could be more productive,
Oh,
right?
it
So
absolutely is more
we're kind of
productive.
looking at tools. So
Yeah.
let's turn it over to you and just have you just give us some insight as to first tell us why you started using Gravity Sketch and then how you're using it, kind of in your activities that you have going on.
Yeah. So going back my entire career, I started my career at Chrysler in Auburn Hills in the late 90s, and I worked at Hyundai for 10 years and then worked at Ford for, I'm sorry, Hyundai 9 years and then Ford for 10 years. And during that entire period, I've always embraced 3D modeling as a designer. Because I felt like it gave me more control over the outcome of my designs. It's I've worked with some great modelers and I've worked with some terrible modelers, and it's amazing how much a design can shift directions depending on who's doing the work. But it's not just the modelers; it's the design management. In fact, that's probably a bigger issue. Um, and I felt like if I could just express myself three-dimensionally rather than doing this sketch and asking permission to have a modeler work on it, which is basically what a sketch is. It's a request for permission. Um, and if the final outcome of the product is 3D, let's get to 3D. Let's just do it. Let's just do it in 3D. So Alias was my first. Just as long in my entire throughout my entire career, I've used Alias, and uh, but around, I'd say, around 2011, 2012, 2013, somewhere in there, I think that's when we started to see the emergence of rapid polygonal modeling, like Maya and Modo and Speedform. And I took a Modo class at Ford, and it just blew my mind. Like okay, I could all these forms that would be like pulling teeth in Alias to create, I can do in minutes with
we're gonna run this as our.
yeah, with polygonal modeling. And so I quickly went on and learned Maya and Speedform, and I really liked Speedform because it was tied into Alias, and I could easily kick things over to Alias and VRED, and it was nicely integrated into the Autodesk ecosystem. So it was easy to get stuff going back and forth with a sculptor or with an engineer, or kick out some really nice renderings in VRED really quickly. So it was so I became sort of the, in one of the early experts on polygonal modeling, wound up working with 2000X to 2000X. For those of you not from Ford, is sort of the incubator for all of the new modeling technologies and visualization technologies. Worked with 2000X to develop a training program for designers and sculptors to learn polygonal modeling. At the time, I was also leading as a manager. I was leading some of the early work on the new Mustang, the 2024 Mustang, and we used Speedform. I had all the designers trained on Speedform, and they were doing all of their own models and going straight to full size. And we wound up actually doing. We started using virtual reality, using VRED to visualize those designs in full scale before committing to clay, and just that process of quickly modeling something and seeing it in one-to-one scale before you get into scale models or early stage full-size clay models. It just really got me excited, like being able to see it in like a life size representation of my design, and being able to see that anytime I want, and not, like I said, not having to wait for the system to approve the design and have it go down a path that may or may not be my intent. So that's sort of the backdrop to Gravity Sketch. And so it was this convergence of virtual reality visualization with VRED and rapid polygonal modeling using Maya or Speedform, and then Speedform wound up getting integrated into Alias. So around 20, I'd seen Gravity Sketch or as early as maybe 2016, 2017. And at the time, I sort of dismissed it as, and I think, Michael Smith was the one who was really getting excited about it. And I sort of dismissed it early on because all I was seeing was 3D sketches, and which is great, but it wasn't until around 2020 that they introduced sub-D modeling, polygonal modeling within Gravity Sketch. And that's when, and some of my own students were using it, and I was really blown away by the results they were achieving within Gravity Sketch. All of a sudden, were now rivaling what we could do in polygonal in Modo or Maya or Alias sub-D. And just that's when I took another look at Gravity Sketch. And once I understood the intuitive controls, using game controllers instead of a mouse and keyboard, I already understood how polygonal surfaces go together, right? It was just game changing. So I just very, very quickly got into Gravity Sketch. And so rather than going through step by step getting to a full-size visualization of a quick model, I was doing it as it was in real time. I was looking at it in one-to-one scale in real time as I was designing it. And it really woke me up to doing interiors. It's a whole new way to do interiors. Being able to see the proportions and stance of an exterior in full size, because as you know, how it looks on a screen is very different than how it looks in a quarter scale clay model, which is also very different than how it looks in full size. And a lot of the sort of repetitive iteration happens because when you get it into that next medium, it just doesn't look the same, right? And so and it's not just the modelers, it's the designers and the design management. Everybody sees something different on a screen versus in a full scale clay model. So that leads to lots of repetitive iteration that takes a long time. So Gravity Sketch for me just really just sped up that process dramatically. So yeah, and so I've used Gravity Sketch as part of my daily workflow since 2020. I've been teaching it as founder of Car Design Academy. It's also the only real-time collaborative 3D software where people from anywhere in the world can collaborate in real time on a single project, which makes it the ideal 3D online classroom. So when I teach 3D, I only teach Gravity Sketch, because they can always go on and learn Blender or something else from the basic knowledge they'll gain in Gravity Sketch.
Sure, yeah. Can
Um,
you describe a little bit about like what you mean by real-time collaboration? Because that's always kind of a tricky thing, right? Because there's, there's near real-time collaboration in VRED, and there's variations of what people call real-time
yeah.
collaboration. But
So
are people actually interacting with the same model
yes,
simultaneously? Oh, that's
yes,
really good. Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. So in VRED, all yeah, you can have people gather around a single model and talk about it and
Mm,
point at it, but VRED is only a visualization tool. It's not a collaboration. It's not a
right,
creation tool, and it's not a collaboration tool. So Gravity Sketch combines visualization, real-time creation, and collaboration in real time. It's as intimate as a designer and a clay modeler working together in a physical studio, right?
got it.
So it is,
Yeah,
the designer and the clay modeler, the designers put tape lines on the clay, the modeler is working to the clay, and it's all happening kind of in, in real time. And the design manager's walking by and checking it out. And it's the closest thing to that in a digital form. And people from anywhere in the world can participate. So um, when I teach my courses online, I host groups of up to 10 people, and they're from all over the world. They're from the US, they're from Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Middle East, South America, um, yeah, East Asia, Southeast Asia. They're from everywhere. We've had them
mm,
from all over the world, and it's in real time. Everybody's
that's great.
in the same room together. So
That's cool. So
yeah,
maybe you can share your screen and show us some of the work that you've done and just
yeah,
kind of give us a quick little overview, just as far as, not really a demo per se, but just more like how you use it. What are the tools that you really like and those kinds of things?
yeah. So this is a just an example of just a quick 3D sketch based on some 2D sketches. So, I literally took, I think it was this sketch right here, this middle sketch, and traced it in the center plane, and then started extracting the lines and getting like a really nice 3D wireframe around around a wheelbase. That the wheelbase and tire size, I think, was from the Porsche 918 uh supercar, right? And then through sub D modeling, I'll just switch over to, yeah, oh, not with the white walls. Yeah. So this would be like the outcome of that, right? Um so you can see that the surface quality is comparable to anything you could do in Alias Sub D or Blender. It's not class A uh, NURBS modeling, right? But it'll get you as far as you can go with Blender or Alias Sub D. Um, so that there's one example. So this is just a sort of typical sketch to model um, uh, example. And then let's see. Let me go. This is something I did with a bit more precision. So this was taking a C8 Corvette, which I found a CAD data model online, and I held the greenhouse and glass planes. Um, and I had some engine components underneath. And so what I wanted to do was create a new body for it. That's something a bit cleaner and fresher than what's on the road today. So this is introducing a bit more precision, um, using some existing known components. There's a full interior in here. This is the, well, you can't really see it. There's a C8 Corvette interior in there, so it's all there, and so I'm basically working around existing components. Um, so you can get quite precise if you want. And then this one's really interesting. so this is sort of a resto mod Porsche 914. And in this case, I did this model in augmented reality. So the new 3D headsets are capable of working in mixed reality or augmented reality, in which you're basically in the real world, in the real studio. And so I had a client with a real original Porsche 914. And so to do this model, I literally traced the original car in Gravity Sketch. So I created a digital 3D wireframe right on top of the real car, um, and then proceeded to build from that. So it's extremely precise. It's not as precise as a scan. I'll give it that. It's probably accurate to within 5 millimeters.
Mm.
Right. But for a first pass on a clay model, and if you were to fabricate, hand fabricate the fenders and stuff from fiberglass, you'd probably wind up doing a little bit of body work and it would be just fine. So
So how
that's
did you start out? Did you start out with just the side view of it and then build off from
no,
there?
I literally traced the car. Give me a minute here and I can find the video here. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. I'll show you the video.
Sure.
Let's see here. I just got to find the. Yeah, and it was. Where is it? Okay, just a moment here. Yeah. No, I'm trying to find the video. Oh yeah, here it is. So here I'm going to show you. Share my screen again, and I'll show you this video clip. So I did it two ways. One is I strung surfaces right on top of the body side. So here's the real car, and I captured all the major sections of the body
Wow,
like that.
that's great.
All right, so that's the first pass that I did, and then the second pass, and you'll see in a moment, was doing the wireframe, just capturing all of the key lines. So here you can see where I've retopped the entire body side of the car. Now I'm going to go in and pull out the fenders to get my wide body.
That's really good.
Yeah. So, and you can see those sketches on the wall are actually digital sketches that only I can see through the headset.
That's really nice.
So working in augmented reality is really changing the game. Okay, so here's where I'm tracing the car with lines.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of inaccuracy in this process. I would say, like I said, I'd give it 5 millimeters accuracy, but for a stage 1 clay model, so that's after I research. So now I'm
Wow,
looking at the digital surface model on top of the real car, sitting in on the plate with where the real car is.
that's great.
Yeah, and you're actually seeing through the greenhouse, seeing the interior through the greenhouse.
How are you ensuring that your surfaces that you're using with the two controllers are sucking right to the surface of the physical car?
So it's sort of that's where the inaccuracy is. So it's sort of the way you hold the controllers. If you know where the point of origin is, I kind of hold it a certain way so the point of origin's on the surface. I've lately been experimenting with there's a new stylus by Logitech which is coming out in October, and it's gonna be it's gonna be way more accurate, because now the point of origin is exactly mapped to the tip of the pen. Right.
Wow,
So
that's nice.
the only limitation then becomes the tracking capabilities of the headset and how accurate is the tracking. And I do think there's still a little bit of inaccuracy with that. So we'll have to see some tracking improvements. Now here's the car sitting outside in the real world. So I took the headset outside, and here I'm walking around a digital car. and it looks as real as any other car in the
Great.
in the
That is really good. Good. Those are real-time shadows as well.
yeah. So I actually mapped the light source directly in the same direction of the sun.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, so you can see that it's actually matching the sun position. And
Nice.
these new headsets, the Quest 3s are the first headsets to be fully capable outdoors in direct sunlight.
The quality is really good.
Yeah. So so yeah, those are just some examples of kind of where I've been using it. Now the real big change in the past year has been the introduction of the Quest 3, which is this one. This is the first full color past augmented reality capable headset, which can be used in direct sunlight. And so what this is enabling now is, and this is where I've been working with Freeman and Jay Mays as well, where we are working in the physical studio on the floor of the studio with a full size car that's digital. And so yeah, so I have Freeman and Jay sitting around with headsets. Look, we're all looking at the same car in the same position. We're all walking around it. They're able to use the controllers as laser pointers and give direction and feedback, and then I go in real time and I just pull this, move that, change this. And it's all happening in real time, and it's like, things that would have taken weeks of clay modeling or days of digital modeling, are now happening instantly. And
Mm.
and it's extremely gratifying for them, not to have to wait a week, to have somebody do it,
Mm-hmm.
make
That
the
is
change,
nice.
and so
Yeah.
we're just blasting through iterations, like that. And so what was interesting is we had another designer who's still using VRED, and uh Freeman told him, he said, I need to see this in AR. I can't look at this in VR. Um, so VR to him. So if you're, just, he's looking at a much later stage design with full, color and materials and all of that, and it's in this blank gray environment. And to him, that's, AR is way more real to him than,
Yeah.
even though Gravity Sketch renders everything in a little bit more cartoony way. When you see it in the real world, sitting on the real floor, there's, in 3D, it's just somehow way more real.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's the environments, you
yeah,
try to make the environment as real as possible, but I think people get extracted with the environment.
yeah,
And so that's why people add props to them and all that. So if you do what you just did, which is put it outside, use your light source that's coincidental with the sun, that does give it a lot more reality, right?
yeah. And then you can position the car next to a real car, or you can
Yeah,
actually overlay the real car.
yeah,
You can we do like when we do the interiors, we just pull up some chairs and you're just sitting in the chair aligned to
right.
the H point,
Yeah,
and making real-time adjustments to the interior layout.
yeah.
So
And
it's
rolling around, if you have a a back seat, you can roll into the back seat and look at what things look like from that perspective and all that. So that is cool. How how do you this is a interesting question that's posed to us a lot, where you have these new tools, Blender or whatever, but they still have to work in the real world within the existing digital pipeline of the usage. So how do you send a gravity sketch model out to Alias to have somebody, you know, build the NURB surfaces or send it to CAD, to do offsets and all that?
So Gravity Sketch sub D surfaces are fully exportable um, to Alias sub D.
Okay.
So I'm just going to show another project that I did. This is a much more complete vehicle. So yeah, the primary file export formats are FBX, OBJ, and IGES. It does FBX is really the
Sure.
the best file export format. So if you know for digital sculptures that are used to working with designers using Blender, it would be a very similar process.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know a Blender model is exportable to Alias as well, I think as a sub D, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, anyway, yeah, I just wanted to show this example here, which trying to just gotta move this there we are. Just trying to move the menu here. So this is sort of a complete project that I did from sketch to full model. So these are just some rough sketches. This would be for a Karma luxury SUV. Used some Viscom, some AI to sort of do a quick render out of the design. I spend very little time in sketches now. I just sketch to get the basic idea, and then I go straight to 3D. And then this is a just a quick 3D sketch over maybe some package elements, some mannequins, some drivetrain dimensions, just a quick study. And then I go to a series of, you could call them scale models, but these are more like a sketch. So I've also have a technique where I can make it look like 3D Photoshop, you know, where there's actually like 3D airbrush and line work and everything.
Mm,
Um, and so, yeah, one of the
got it.
things I've been exploring is sort of what is the what what are the roles now of a designer and a sculptor, right? It seems to be blurring quite a bit, right? Where a lot of the interpretive 3D work is being done directly with the designer, you know, by the designer themselves. And you know, it depends on the studio, it depends on the designer, it depends on the design leader, right? Whether they prefer to have the designers just sketch on in 2D, or whether they encourage designers to work in 3D. But there's definitely a blurring of the lines and a hybridization of the role of designer and creative sculptor. I'm curious to hear some opinions about that. Um, what are your thoughts?
Well, we are seeing the interesting thing is, what we're seeing trending is less focus on having the Alias cast modelers build the concept model in Alias,
Right,
right? So that's a big deal, right? Because let's say it's an advanced studio and they're working on a number of concepts. So now they're getting a Blender model most of the time, or some other tool, whether it's Moto or whatever. There's really no restrictions anymore as to what tool that they can use. But the request, it's not a requirement per se, the request is for a 3D model to be provided instead of a 2D sketch. So the workflow that we're seeing in that regard is like the cast modelers are doing more of the Class A surface development and less focus on concept model, right?
right,
Which
right,
does create a like a shorter design cycle, right? Because you're not waiting for, you know, interpretation of the sketch and the modelers trying to chase down the designer and that kind of thing. What did you mean by this? And blah, blah, blah. So it is becoming a lot more efficient that way. And that is kind of not the requirement, but a the criteria that we're seeing. And so there's still supplemental sketches that go along with it, but majority of the time now the responsibility is on the designer to work out some of the proportions and things like that upstream in sub Ds, whether it's Alias, as you said, Moto, Maya, Blender, or other tools. I'm surprised that Gravity Sketch. I didn't think Gravity Sketch had this much capability, right? I was always kind of like just envisioning that it was, strictly 3D sketching. But what you're showing here is a completely different workflow than what we're seeing. And it's actually quite good, right? Because, if you have multiple sessions where someone like Freeman or Jay are interacting with it, and the model is more believable because it's sitting on the studio floor, that's really impactful. I think you can get a lot more things done that way.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing how quickly we're cranking out design
Yeah,
concepts. And we're
yeah,
doing presentations as well to stakeholders. We're putting the headset on them and getting sort of real time feedback from them as well.
yeah, yeah. Anybody else have input on that as far as what you're seeing, the modifications in the workflow?
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, it's really impressive just to see. I mean, this is really the only software I know of where you can like, it's like a design studio, like in the software itself. I mean, I'm seeing
Yeah,
your sketches on the whiteboard, and you have like little iterative models there, and then kind of the finished piece. And obviously, I'm assuming this can be one-to-one, so you can walk around the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just super impressive. Just everything down to just the visualization, right? I mean, the lighting here
yeah,
has gotten really good, and
yeah,
seems like Gravity Sketch has just come a really really long way. I remember using it kind of like what you were talking about, Eric, when it seemed to be just kind of 3D sketching, but the addition of adding surfaces is really powerful, and it has a pretty approachable user interface, and just the workflow seems a little bit easier to grasp than a blender is pretty extensive and tends to be a little bit tricky to use, but I think just their overall approach and making it super kind of stripped down and simple is really interesting. I mean, do you find that you picked up the tool pretty easy and there wasn't a huge learning curve for you to use
Yeah.
Gravity Sketch?
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, I have yet to I have yet to learn Blender because I've just never needed to. It's just there's nothing I can't do here. And aside from the visualization side of Blender, right? And and I usually work with other people for visualization anyway. So um uh Alias sub D is fine because I'm so well versed in Alias, in the Alias ecosystem. I picked that up really quick. Uh but um but Blender, yeah, I just never really picked it up, and never really needed to. So
mm.
um yeah. Yeah,
Do
so
you have a do you have
yeah.
a limited number of shaders within Gravity Sketch? Or can you import a shader library or just create them as you go? I look at
So
your little
yeah,
palette over here in the left-hand
it's
corner.
it's not as versatile as VRED for shaders and materials. So there's sort of 5 key materials that are in the shader library. There's this glossy metallic material. There's a glossy reflective non-metallic material. There's a matte material, and there's this with what's called the clay material, which is it's just sort of this sort of semi-gloss, or like these lower features, lower black features are in the clay material. Um, a lot of the interior is done in the clay material. You can map. There is some texture mapping, so you can see here where I've mapped a wood grain to some of the parts. Um, I've mapped some UX UI images to the screens. But in terms of like fabrics and stitching and all of that, it's still pretty limited. But what you gain in terms of that real world collaboration and efficiency, definitely has its benefits. So it's designed for standalone headsets, not tethered to PCs, but standalone headsets with limited GPU processing, to be able to perform smoothly and for real-time creation and collaboration. That's what it's really meant for. But yeah, you can bring in custom HDR environments that can really change the look and feel of things. What I do is, when I'm doing AR, I have a couple of environments that look like the interior of an automotive studio, so that when it's sitting on the floor, it's the lighting and the reflections are similar to what's in the real space, so it looks a lot more convincing. But it's not really the reflecting, it's not truly the reflections of the room. It's an approximation, but it looks a lot more convincing that way. Len, you were still at Ford when Gravity Sketch really started to take off at Ford. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with Gravity Sketch, or with people using Gravity Sketch?
Mostly my interaction with Rex Allen and his advancements and helping out to be more intuitive for clay modelers, and his reports back to the management team were always really positive, and they were working really hard to introduce sweeps and other tools that a modeler would recognize.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't know Rex was into Gravity Sketch. That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't believe he's touched clay in the last 4 years.
Wow. Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there, and he said he's not leaving until Gravity Sketch is ready for the modelers.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's dedication.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he loves it. After being a clay modeler for nearly 40 years, he loves it.
Yeah.
And
Len,
yeah, go ahead.
as an alias sculptor, Len, what do you prefer to get from the designer? Do you prefer a 2D sketch? Do you prefer a Blender model? Do you prefer Gravity Sketch model, or sorry, a Gravity Sketch 3D model? What's your preference?
Spending 2 weeks with a modeler and a designer and just getting it done. That's what I'm comfortable with. Just the parrot on the pirate and go.
So just collaborating the hell out of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
Just,
why the Gravity Sketch in the player 1, player 2, player 3 is interesting to me. I mean, I wish Alias had that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Probably
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was gonna say the biggest limitation that I've seen, because as a consultant for Gravity Sketch, I was working with studios all over the world, and in addition to training them, I was also collecting a lot of their feedback and taking it back to the development team. But probably one of the biggest limitations is the headsets, the hardware. It's we're still, I think, at an early stage with the hardware, and it's not evolving very fast because there hasn't been a mass market for it. But I do think with augmented reality versus virtual reality, I think with augmented reality, we're going to see a lot more adoption of AR and in other aspects of daily life. And I think the technical requirements for the headsets is a lot less. And so I think we have a potential to see a big slimming down of the headsets, to the point where they're as comfortable and light as glasses. I think that's coming. I'm really looking forward to that coming, because that's really a big limitation, is wearing these big bulky headsets.
Yeah.
It is a huge benefit to be wireless, like to be able to walk around the studio without wires. That is super awesome. That's a big jump. But they're, till they become as light and comfortable and easy to use as glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're facing the same thing. Whatever tool that we use, whatever headset we use, has some kind of limitation. Like the Vario can handle big models. It can do VR or AR, the XR4. but you still have the umbilical cord, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. You have a limitation as to where you walk. So we like to use the Vive Pro with the wireless, which is great because I think that's kind of like but there again, it's only VR, it's not AR. So
Right.
we bought a Vision Pro headset. Have you guys, has Gravity Sketch talked about what the obstacles would be to use Gravity Sketch with the Vision Pro?
Uh, I'm not aware of what they're doing with Vision Pro, or what they may or may not be considering with Vision Pro, but the main issue with Vision Pro is that it doesn't have any controllers. And so either Vision Pro will have to have some sort of controller, a third-party controller integration, or Gravity Sketch would have to completely reinvent the interface for hand gestures, right? Which would be a huge
Yeah.
undertaking for them.
Can't you just use your hands as and because Vision Pro recognizes your hands
Yeah,
as the tool.
the mapping of the buttons and stuff,
Oh,
for
I see.
software
Okay.
design, that would be an extremely
I
complex
understand.
undertaking. I mean, right
Got
now
it.
we have all of these buttons, and it's
Mhm.
the joystick. There's so many different functions and features that Gravity Sketch has
Hmm.
taken the time to, the past 10 years now to optimize, right? That it would just be, yeah, it would be a complete restart, right?
Understand. Yeah.
So and I don't think Apple, the Vision Pro hasn't really proved itself in the market to where it's a viable product for most people. There is an app on Vision Pro called Jig Space, which I'm curious about exploring, which is what they use in a lot of their demos. If you go to the Apple Store and you look at the demo of the race car or the jet engine, that's called Jig Space, and you can take 3D data, and you can set up these sort of presentations where, like, you can, reach out to the door and open the door, or something like that, or you can disassemble
Hmm.
something and see what's underneath. And Jig Space is a software to design those sort of presentations. But that's not a real-time workflow. That's a presentation workflow. So you would have to
Correct.
be
Yeah.
you would have to be at a point in a project where you're comfortable enough taking a week or two to assemble a presentation like that, knowing that you're probably going to have to do it again, right? So it's another dog and pony show. It's sort of like,
Understand. Yeah.
having to stop what you're doing and take 24 to 48 hours and die knock the clay, right? At what point do you stop modeling and start die knocking, right?
Yeah.
That's a real conundrum, that you constantly face in the studio.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it has come a long way. I mean, as far as real-time visualization, you used to have to wait and render it offline and wait to see what it's going to look like. So, in the last 10 years, we've made significant progress of dealing with, real-time imagery, right? So
Yeah.
it's stepping stone. It's a little here, a little bit there. The hardware technology is getting faster. We're doing a lot with just gaming cards, GeForce cards, driving the presentations on laptops. The headsets are getting better, cheaper, and higher resolution. So, it's only going to be a matter of time in the next couple of years where the the ultimate wearing of glasses, whether it's Vision Pro or something else, would be, the way that everybody would interact with the model, and the idea of collaborating with the glasses on instead of the headset on would be, really intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to, I use this as a shameless plug. We do offer Gravity Sketch training. So, it's all bespoke, one-on-one. We do some small group intensives, a few times a year, but right now we're pretty booked out through the remainder of the year of this K-12 school. But we're still offering one-on-one bespoke training, or small group
Mhm.
bespoke training. Um,
Great.
yeah. So, if anybody's interested, I just put the link to the website where you can explore Car Design Academy, what we offer, and whether if you want to sign up, you can do that. So
Awesome.
yeah, so
That's great.
yeah, I have a co-instructor who is also we also offer a Gravity Sketch certification as well. So Gravity
Cool.
Sketch, we're certified instructors with Gravity Sketch. So Gravity Sketch offers the certification for those who enroll in our courses and complete them. So it's a 6-week
Excellent.
program where we run through everything from basic 3D sketching to full sub-D modeling. And it's all tailored to the individual learner. So for some people who really want to just focus on 3D sketching, we do that. For those who really want to focus on modeling, we do that. So yeah, and it's all project-based learning. So
That's great.
yeah.
That's really good. And Eric, thank you so much. It's really eye-opening as far as where the technology is going. And there again, for everybody who's watching live, we're recording the session, so I'll send a link to you and anybody else who signed up for the class, maybe, or not the class, but the event here today, and I'll send you a link, and so you can pass the link around or whatever. And would be good to interact with Eric, just as a as a resource, right, Eric? Just questions about the tool and things like that. You're okay with that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, good. So we got a couple minutes left. Anybody have any additional questions or comments on Gravity Sketch? All right. Well, listen,
Okay.
thanks again, Eric. It was a pleasure to have you on the group. And there again, thanks for all of you folks who joined. And I'll send you out the link soon for the recording.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks,
All
Mike.
right.
Thanks. Thank
Take
you.
care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.